Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to give you the rundown on Sliders Season 2. A 13 season arc, and I feel is the best season of the series. Season 2 is my all-time favorite season of Sliders. Why? Because the show evolved, and it evolved into what it should have been in the first season. Gone is the humor. I do miss the humor because it's funny, but a show like this really doesn't need that much humor. Gone is the humor, and now brought in is the more thought-provoking storylines. They're more dramatic. They really get you thinking. They really start making you think that, hey, this could happen on our world, or hey, it almost happened on our world. And this is what's so great about this show. The endless possibilities of the what if. What if this could happen to our world? You know what? Like, 'cause seriously, a lot of stuff that happened in this show nearly came true in our world and stuff. Now, the characters for the most part are still the same people who they were in the first season. The only slight differences is like Rembrandt, he stays with the group now. He's less comedic. He's a bit more sarcastic. The professor, he's still grumpy, not as grumpy as he was in the first season, and he grew his hair out. Quinn is no longer that dorky guy, but is now starting to become a man. Like, gone is his Peter Parker persona, and he's slowly becoming Spider-Man. And not literally becoming Spider-Man, but you'll see what I'll talk about in the third rundown video for the third season. Which, by the way, I can only upload 3 videos a day because that's YouTube's stupid new rule they have. Because this is the thing, you can upload as many videos as you want. You can upload 100 in one day if you want. But people who are subscribed to you, they will only get notified for 3 videos a day. So, you know, so my videos can actually get viewed. I decided, yeah, you know, whatever, I'll just upload 3 a day. Since I uploaded the least favorite of season 1 early in the morning, around like 12 a.m. or something like that. So I'm just gonna upload like season 1 and season 2 rundown. And Wade has a bit more to do in this season than she did in the first season, but it's not by much. But she's more forthcoming. She's more opinionated. She has more drivenness in her. She does not like being disrespected, and she really lets people know that in this season. Like, she let people know a little bit in the first season, mainly with the professor, but it was always in a more of a play for laughs kind of way. Now, I haven't done my favorite videos of season 2 and least favorite yet. So when I do those, I'll go more in depth into those episodes. But for now, it's just like a little rundown. And we're starting off with the first episode of the second season. The episode where Fox just said, screw the show, and just do a random episode. Tracy Torme, he fought tooth and nail to show what happened at the end of like the continuation of the finale of season 1. And as we all know, Quinn got shot. Did he live? Did he die? The studio said, okay, well, he does live because, you know, Jerry is the star of this show, but we're not going to show how he lives or all that stuff. We're just going to go straight into the show. Tracy Torme's all like, you cannot do this to the fans of this show. They deserve more, and they're the ones who fought for this show to get a second season. So Fox is like, okay, fine, whatever. Like, you can only have like a few minutes to explain what happened at the end of season 1, and that is it. And that's literally what we got. I hate Fox so much. Like, y'all have no idea. They keep canceling my shows. They're just a bunch of buttheads. I don't like them. That's why they got bought out by Disney, and they still suck. But anyway, so Quinn is having a dream sequence where he feels like everybody's gonna leave him, and he's buried underground, 6 feet under, and he sticks his hands out of his grave and he wakes up. Turns out that Ryan, the dude from the last episode in season finale of season 1, who like Wade and everything, he has some medical experience and he saved Quinn's life. He took the bullet out of Quinn. It was a couple of days of Quinn fighting back and forth, but he didn't know because he was fighting for his life. Anyway, Wade reveals that Ryan is no longer with the group because she broke his heart, because she would not leave Quinn's side and everything, and she would not leave her friends. So they slide out of there. What that world is about, we have no earthly idea, because the studio just did not care. Now, the first premiere episode of season 2, I'll just say this right here now. I don't like this episode whatsoever. This was a very strange, very bizarre show. This was when Fox was starting to dip their nasty, ugly, crusty little toes in the waters of Sliders. And it came out for a very strange not Alice in Wonderland. What's that thing called? The Wizard of Oz type episode. You will see why this episode is like the Wizard of Oz in some ways, you know. Like it has like some hints and references to it. And there's a reason for that. You'll see more in the 3rd season, and you'll find out more when I go to my least favorite videos. Because I just don't like this episode. But basically what it is this. They're on the world. Quinn is still hurt. He goes to this strange, ghouly looking doctor. Like, my God, he's like so ghoulish and everything. And it's just like, the dude just looks like he came out of a horror movie. And so, like, they didn't pay the bill. They literally, like, dined and dashed. And it was the professor's idea of all things. And so this pisses him off. He sends the Grim Reaper type dude after him, and then that's supposed to give him like a summons and everything because he's getting sued. And then as you know, there's like this bounty hunter chasing after them, and then they find this wizard who's not a wizard, but it's Quinn's double, and he needs his schematics to slide out of there. They fix the timer, and then they slide, but they don't know they're on their world because all this stuff happens, and we get like a nasty little O.J. Simpson reference. And I say nasty because O.J. Simpson can rot for all I care, because I'm like one of the few black people who actually think he did it. And it had caused me to be the black sheep of like the black community because I think he did it. And so they slide out of there because the gate didn't squeak. But the reason why it didn't squeak is because they oiled it up. So now they're back to just sliding around the multiverse. But their system is no longer corrupted, but their home coordinates are no longer in the timer. But when I say this season is a huge improvement of the last one, I know the first season is not bad. They had some really good, like, oh my God type episode where you didn't even know if they would survive or not. But these are more episodes where it's more drama driven. They're like, okay, let's see. We have an episode called like Love Gods. And that's a world where like mankind went to, like 2 countries went to war with each other, Australia and America. And like one of the countries created like a bioweapon. That bioweapon ended up killing all the men of the world, but only a few of them survived because of like their antibodies and their immune systems were like strong enough to prevent themselves from dying. Men no longer have free will. They are now placed in camps, breeding camps, where they must now breed with the female populace. And only a few select females are allowed to be it. And so all the other women are like, well, what about us? We want our babies too. And so it's a really unique episode that teaches you, hey, mankind, don't you create bioweapons. Because seriously, man, this is why when we find out other countries are doing it, we make them stop. Because you just never know what might happen and stuff. And there's an episode called Jillian and the Spirits. And the lady who plays Jillian, she's actually the real life wife to the guy who played Benish in the first season. And it's a really, really captivating type episode. It's captivating in the fact that Quinn is in the astral plane. He's basically like a spiritual ghost type thing, because he got struck by lightning, or the vortex got struck by lightning when he slid. Somehow it caused him to phase out of reality, and he's now this type of astral projection type thing. And it's a very charming episode. The chemistry that Quinn and Jillian had is really nice, and you see the abuse that she takes on that world from her family, from the people at school, and the only person she has to talk to is like this little ghostly figure guy. And it's just one of those type of things that just makes you just sit there, watch, and you're just like captivated by like what's going on, and you can't help but to feel for this character, because we've seen this character before in the real world. We've seen those characters that like have to eat at the cafeteria table by themselves. We've seen those type of people that like, you know, have no friends. We've seen those type of people that constantly get dumped on. And it just, you know, when you have that type of realism in a show like this, you can't help but to say this is literally one of the greatest shows ever. It's not hokey sci-fi drama type stuff that you would see in other shows like Star Trek Lower Decks. Not to mention that Quinn, not only does he have to deal with the thought that he might not be able to slide off that world and nobody's going to be able to see him or touch him anymore, but he has to deal with the ramifications that his father is alive and well on this earth, and his father is not a good man. Like, he is a man that has been tainted, and a man that is supposed to hurt his friends. And, you know, that is something like, that's some good drama writing right there, man. Because, you know, his dad on his world is dead, and he misses him a lot. And just the thought of like knowing that your father is like a bad person and who's willing to kill, not only willing to kill, but kill your friends, that's something to take in right there. And it's a cool Western episode that I really like. And it's just like, who doesn't love a good old Western, you know? But it's just like, this Western show is completely different because it's kind of like the people living in the old West type style, and their lawyers, like, they kind of like, I think they did away with lawyers, I believe, and basically just had like a shootout just to sell you like your beef and stuff. And it's just an intriguing episode. There's an episode where all of San Francisco and California have been turned into like a penal colony. Yeah, they pulled the whole Australia thing on them, man. So like all the prisoners and mentally ill prisoners, they're there on like that part of the United States, and there's giant earthquakes, and the sliders of course are from San Francisco, so they are screwed. And we get to see the dude who plays Negan in this episode, and yeah, he's playing a bad dude once again. Jeffrey Dean Morgan, I believe his name is. I can't really remember. We get our very first dinosaur episode in this thing. It reminded me so much of Jurassic Park, and they did things similar to that of Jurassic Park. See, because this was shot in the 90s and it's a TV show, this is before streaming. See, when you watch a streaming show now, TV shows look like movies. Why? Because they have a ginormous budget. But back in the 90s on TV, you didn't have much of nothing of a budget. And so they could only show the dinosaur like one or two times, very briefly for a couple of seconds. And for the most part, yeah, it was a pretty nice CGI dinosaur and everything. Like, they did a pretty good job for like a TV show budget. But just like the whole Jurassic Park thing, it captivated you in the sense that you knew it was out there. You could hear it out there. You can see the trees like rustle and everything, but you couldn't see it on screen. Sometimes that's a little bit more scary than actually seeing it and seeing it look like crap on TV or the movie. This is a very interesting episode where, okay, young people rule the world. And basically, when you're in your mid-20s, that's when things start to go downhill. and you're considered like a retired has-been type person, like an old person and everything. And that's how the young people think of them, as like has-beens and stuff. And it's all because of Howard Stern. I'm not joking. In that world, it's all because of Howard Stern. And so, like, yeah, it's a really interesting episode to see young people rule the world, and older people are basically told to like go home at a certain curfew and stuff. And it's just weird. It's weird in a cool way, and it's weird in a scary way because we never want kids to rule the world because kids are, well, kids, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, there's a bunch of teenagers in the show running the world. When I say kids, I basically mean teenagers. So yeah, it's a bunch of teenagers like running the world and stuff. And as we all know, teenagers aren't always the best people in decision makings and stuff. And also in this episode, Quinn and Wade are married. And Wade, whew, when you watch this episode, boy, you will not believe the things she does. You know, the slider, they travel to a world where it's like Rembrandt is like a detective, and they had like this mob type. It's a Romeo and Juliet psychic type episode where Wade is whisked away and falling for this guy who is like literally obsessed with her. There is a really cool episode where the sliders are constantly meeting the same doubles on every world they go into because Quinn is trying to re-fall back in love with this girl he knew back in college, but it's not, of course, not the one from his world, it's from other worlds, and things always end up badly. Then we get one of the most interesting, I keep saying interesting, like he said, this is the most interesting, but literally, we literally get one of the most interesting episodes of them all. Invasion, the introduction of the Cro-Mags. And this is the episode that divided the fan base back in the day because revealed by the actors of the show, fans didn't like this episode. They didn't like the Cro-Mags. That's why the Cro-Mags didn't show up in the third season and only were mentioned. But then they show up in the fourth and the fifth season. And it's this human race of these ape-like humans because mankind has evolved back into their, well, it evolved or de-evolved, I guess you could say, back into their primordial stage where they look like primates and stuff. They're very highly advanced. They have sliding capability. They hate humans. It's like it feels like an alien invasion sci-fi type episode. And that's basically what it was. And I'm so glad they did this because I like the Cro-Mags. It was kind of cool giving them like a villain of the show. You know what I'm saying? And what made it even worse is that the Cro-Mags, they put like a tracking device in one of the sliders. So when they go back home, they will invade that world. And we get a huge revelation in the fourth season when that occurs. And we find out one of the sliders of this group is not even from their world in like the pilot episode and stuff. And no, it's not the professor. Let's just take him out the equation. It's either Quinn, Rembrandt, or Wade. One of them is from a parallel world, and one of them is from Cro-Mag Prime. But they don't know it yet. In this season, we get one of the most biggest cliffhangers of all time. The episode where which professor slid with the group. In this one episode, there is our professor, and there is a very evil professor. And the evil professor, he kidnaps the good one throughout the entire episode. And the sliders aren't sure why the professor is acting this way because they think they're home. Because this world is literally identical to theirs, but it turns out to be like a hair off. And Quinn is the only one who thinks they're not home. And then when the realization of it, it hits the other sliders hard. And then as the two like Arturos are fighting, they don't know which one slid. And it never got resolved for the entire series. But you can kind of guess which one did. And even the creator of the show, he knows which one did, and he later revealed in a con convention a few years back. So that is my rundown of season 2. Season 2 is literally my all-time favorite. I used to enjoy so much, just like, you know, right before I go to bed at night. Like, I'll watch some Sliders on DVD, and like, season 2 will always be one of those seasons that I'll pop in. I just love the thought-provoking episodes. I love the drama. I love the action. It wasn't too overly action. It wasn't too overly dramatic, but it got you thinking and it kept you captivated and interested in that 40 something minutes that it was on. Alrighty, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye. Alrighty, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.